The whole fair trade movement as we know it now was really conceived of about 70 years ago by a group that's the precursor to today's 10,000 villages. And they were trying to create a marketplace so that people's ways of life and ways of creating things wouldn't be lost.
My understanding of fair trade is advocating for equity from developing countries exporting their goods to developed countries.
I think what I know is that it's sustainable, so the crops are sustainable and benefit the native people more.
I would say that it's ethically produced, first of all, and that the farmers at kind of the bottom of the production chain don't get left out of the profits.
Food and consumables didn't really come about in the fair trade movement until about 20 years ago in the 90s. And back then, fair trade wasn't the term that was used. It was alternative trade. It was meant to be a very overt, thoughtful alternative against the mainstream of conventional publicly traded companies moving products for maximum profit, often at the expense of producers.
Then over here we've got some healthy coffee.
This is a good one.
They're hoping to harvest this in about 1 month's time. Oh, this is, by the way, at Kabede's farm. There he is.
Fair trade is a way to identify products and organizations that meet ethical values and in turn have a positive impact on our world.
Fair trade for us is about a relationally partnered producer-consumer-supply relationship. We want to be living out what we consider the three standard tenets of fair trade, which is dialogue and transparency and respect.
Companies don't have any obligation to actually go and visit the producing countries or what they're buying. It's part of the trust in the system, and the whole auditing standard is that the third-party certification is sort of key to the program. So when you're dealing with a company that you trust, it's quite easy for them, or direct trade relationships, you trust that they're doing what you expect them to do. But when you start dealing with more multinational companies or companies that you may not trust, you actually want that third-party certification to be doing all of that auditing.
Fairtrade International has set regulations for producers that follow a variety of criteria, including labor standards, sustainable farming, governance, and democratic participation. Producer organizations are subject to regular audits to ensure these standards are being maintained. Companies that buy products from fair trade producers must adhere to similar standards and are also subject to frequent independent audits.
For a product to be fair trade, it's generally focused on, first of all, it has to fit into one of about 21 categories of food products. The challenge is those standards are written by a committee in Germany, and they often don't encompass or incorporate products that very much warrant fair trade. And so if the product falls into those categories, then there's minimum wages that have to be paid or minimum purchase prices, but then there's a lot of questions about, well, where did that money go and how did it trickle down to farmers? But usually it relates to prices paid, the structure and logistics of the organization that's producing it, like the producer group, and then kind of the transparency and accounting of how money changed hands along the way from the producer community through to the consumer community.
A fair trade company exists through some of the other certifying organization schemes. It's quite often handicrafts and some of the direct trade companies. So if the company is 100% in all the way they conduct all their business is following fair trade principles, then the whole company itself will be certified, usually by Fair Trade Federation, that everything they do is fair trade, so therefore the whole company is a fair trade company.
I think it's hard at times for customers to navigate. My biggest suggestion to people is try to find a business that's fully fair trade. Meaning, rather than just having some products that are fair trade, usually with a certification, which may be good, it may not be so awesome. If you find an organization that's the member of one of two organizations, the World Fair Trade Organization or the Fair Trade Federation, that means everything they do is based on fair trade principles, and they're not dabbling in it, they're like fully, passionately committed, and then I think you've got a guaranteed product that's fair trade, whether it's got a certification on it or not.
Authentic fair trade organizations aren't about filling your entire pantry, but rather focus on how consumers can source sustainable products.
For us, we're all about kind of rethinking the food system. We want people to ask deep questions about what's more sustainable for the planet and the planet's farmers. My first push is not buy my stuff. It's actually grow your own food. Create a sustainable food system locally. Buy from local farmers and local markets so that you're supporting local agriculture and eating seasonally. And then for those products that are imported, then we try to step forward and say, we'd like to fill your pantry with the rices and the dried fruits and the tea and the coffee and the things that maybe you can't produce or source locally from local farmers. We want to have a really transparent connection back to the farmers that people can see where the product came from and how it was paid.
By supporting authentic fair trade, you are ensuring that the principles of fairness and decency matter in the marketplace. So, next time you're looking for a deal, ask yourself,
is this product sustainable? Who is this supporting?